Let's talk about protein. You hear about it everywhere, right? It's the building block of life, and yet, it's also surrounded by so much confusion. Are you getting too much? Not nearly enough? Does it matter if it comes from plants or animals? Well, today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're giving you the straight facts on protein, especially what you need to know to stay strong and vibrant as you age.
Think about the protein advice you've probably heard your whole life. You know, that number you see on the back of food labels. Well, what if I told you that for a whole lot of us, and especially as we get older, that number is completely wrong? That it's totally outdated and might actually be holding you back from feeling your absolute best.
So here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to start by tearing down that old protein rule. Then we'll dive into the great animal versus plant debate. After that, we'll get to the good stuff, your true protein needs. We'll look at exactly why muscle is so critical for aging well, and then wrap it all up with a simple, science-backed blueprint for your health.
All right, let's dive right in with the big one. That old rule you've probably been following for years. It's time we all understood where that number came from, and more importantly, why it's not the goal we should be shooting for.
You've definitely seen these three letters everywhere. RDA, Recommended Dietary Allowance. It's the standard number we're told to hit. The official definition says it's what you need for basic nutritional requirements. But what does basic really even mean?
And here's the crucial point you need to get. The RDA for protein was never designed for you to thrive. It was established just to prevent you from getting seriously sick from a protein deficiency. Think of it like getting a C- on a test. I mean, yeah, you passed, but you're not exactly acing it, right? It is not an A+ for performance, for vitality, or for aging well.
So why should we be aiming for that A+? Well, it all comes down to this one word, sarcopenia. It's a fancy term for the age-related loss of muscle, strength, and function. And here's the kicker. It can start as early as your 30s. It is one of the single biggest threats to our independence as we get older.
And this loss of muscle leads directly to something we all want to avoid: frailty. Sarcopenia is the #1 cause. And we're not just talking about feeling a bit weaker. Frailty means your risk of falls, broken bones, and being hospitalized goes way up. So, maintaining your muscle, it's literally about maintaining your quality of life.
Okay, so we get it. We need enough protein. But the next big question is, from where? This brings us to one of the hottest debates in nutrition today. So let's break down the real, science-based differences between animal and plant proteins.
This table here really lays out the key trade-offs beautifully. So animal proteins, think meat, eggs, dairy, they're what we call complete. They have all 9 essential amino acids our bodies can't make. They're also super easy for our bodies to digest and use. Plant proteins, on the other hand, are often incomplete and a little less digestible. That just means you have to be a bit smarter about combining things, like rice and beans, to get that full amino acid profile. And of course, there are the health links. Some studies connect a high intake of processed red meat to certain risks, while plant-based diets often get the gold star for lowering the risk of heart disease. So it's not just about muscle, it's about your total health picture. And you can't have this conversation today without mentioning the environmental side of things. The research is pretty solid here. On the whole, plant-based proteins are just a more sustainable choice. They require way less land and water than most livestock farming.
All right, so we've busted that old school rule and we've navigated the great debate. Now it's time to get down to brass tacks. What's the most important question? How much protein do you actually need? Let's look at the real numbers.
So here it is, that old number, 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. Remember, this is the C- grade. It's the bare minimum to avoid getting sick. For a 150-pound person, that's only about 54 grams of protein a day. Keep that number in your head.
Now check this out. What happens if you're active, if you work out, if you're trying to build or just maintain muscle? The recommendation literally doubles to at least 1.6 grams per kilogram. For that same 150-pound person, we're now talking about 109 grams of protein. That's a huge jump from that old minimum.
And now for what might be the most important number in this entire explainer. To actively fight off that age-related muscle loss and stay strong, expert groups are now recommending a target of 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram for older adults. For a 150-pound person, that's a goal of about 82 to 102 grams, significantly more than the old RDA.
But wait a second, why? Why do our protein needs go up as we get older, especially when a lot of us might be moving less or even eating less? The science here is actually fascinating, and it reveals a kind of double-edged sword that older adults are up against. This slide just captures the whole challenge perfectly. On the left side, you see all the reasons our protein intake might naturally drop as we age. Changes in appetite, maybe it's harder to get to the store, things like that. But on the right, at the exact same time, our body's actual need for protein is going up because of things like chronic inflammation or sarcopenia itself. It's a perfect storm. We're often eating less right when our body needs more.
So the core scientific reason for this increased need is something called anabolic resistance. Now that sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. It just means that as you get older, your muscles get a little, stubborn. They become less sensitive to protein. You have to eat more of it just to get the same muscle-building response you had when you were younger. Your body's engine just isn't as efficient as it used to be.
Okay, we've covered the problem, we've looked at the science, we've seen the new numbers, so now what? Let's bring it all together into a simple, actionable blueprint that you can start using today.
Here it is, a super simple 3-step plan. First, get your protein target right. Aim for at least 1.0 to 1.2 grams per kilogram daily. And if you're dealing with an illness or recovering, bump that up to 1.2 to 1.5. Second, protein can't do the job alone. You have to pair it with daily activity to tell your muscles to actually use it. And third, the most powerful signal you can send your muscles is resistance training. Lifting weights, using bands, even bodyweight exercises. They're absolutely crucial for turning that protein into real, functional strength.
So when you boil it all down, this is really about a shift in how you think. Protein isn't just a number on a food label. It's a tool. It's a powerful tool for building resilience, maintaining your independence, and fighting back against the clock. So after seeing all this evidence, it's worth asking yourself, is your diet just built to get by, or is it truly built to defy aging?